All right. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to our live stream. I hope you guys had a great week this week. I know I had a wonderful week. So I hope you guys did as well. It's Friday going into the weekend. So I hope you guys have some big plans for this weekend as well. I know here in Philadelphia, it's going to be some really nice weather. So if you're here in Philly or in the PA area, hope you guys have some big plans for the weekend. Mr. Wong, happy Friday to
Hey,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm happy because I finally can I got my haircut today.
I
So
see. I meant to talk to you about that. Looking
yeah,
sharp. I love it.
I feel like I'm at least 20 years younger, you
You
know?
look 20, you look 20 years younger.
That's right. Now I'm officially 25 plus.
Yeah, it's a nice haircut, man. I noticed that. I was going to give you a
Thank
compliment on
you.
that earlier. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Goodness,
Yeah,
the hair salon was busy,
I'm sure. People
but
have been waiting.
I'm so glad that everybody's practicing social distancing. I had my face mask on the whole time.
Okay.
Um, during the shampoo, from shampoo to the haircut, through the stylings.
All works, huh?
So, so it's good. It's good.
Nice.
We're slowly opening back up. Philadelphia is in green zone right now. But I'll tell you what, we cannot let our guards down, even though we are entering that green phase of the reopening. Right? We should still continue to practice social distancing and good hygiene.
Yeah. Some of these states like Texas and Florida, they're having a difficult time. Right now, Texas just announced that all bars had to close. They were trying to open things back up. They had some bars and restaurants opened up, but now
Yeah,
the new order said no, all bars have to close because they're seeing a spike
for
in
sure.
cases. So you're right about that. We can't get too complacent. Um, Also, as you guys know, we have James that bring everything together. He's always in the background. He's in California, but I would love to get his input. James, how are things in California right now? How are you guys dealing with? Are you guys opening things up, or what's going on?
We were right. So it feels strange. Like we had all this forward momentum towards opening back up, but it looks like COVID's kind of resurging, and Newsom asked for another $20 million in support, and they're actually kind of not even slow rolling. They're sort of reversing some of the openings here in California because it's definitely spiking back up again, which kind of
Hmm.
sucks. But yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I don't know if we're mentally in a place, us, as Americans, to try to close back down again. We've been cooped up for so long. Our American spirit is just too, you know, feisty right now. I'm gonna get back out there and enjoy the weather.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I don't see how, but hey, if we're having a tremendous number of people being infected and the death rate start to increase dramatically, I don't think they're going to have a choice. That's going to be a tough decision.
Hmm.
We thought this one was tough as far as closing everything down, but if the numbers are telling them that they may need to close things down, that's going to be a very tough decision to do. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. So look, let's get right into it. We have some really great things to talk about today. So hope you guys are strapped in and ready to go. One of the first articles we're going to talk about is, we always talk about mass adoption. And so article came out recently, I think what came out yesterday, that in Australia, they're going to have their post office, their postal location, which is like 3,500 of them, that's going to allow people to purchase Bitcoin at all their postal locations. So I'm getting an echo.
I'm sorry, that was me. It
Okay.
should be gone now.
Okay. Yeah. So, mass adoption there's so many things that are happening right now that is letting us know that people are really starting to get warmed up to Bitcoin, not just us who are, we're pretty much like on the forefront. We've been involved for a while now, but more people are coming on board. So we have Australia that's going to allow their postal offices, their postal locations to sell Bitcoin, right? We just had an announcement that you can now purchase Bitcoin at 7-Elevens CVS and Rite Aid, all their locations, right? We also had information that PayPal and Venmo is going to start allowing their customers to purchase Bitcoin on their platform. So, guys, these are the things that we've been waiting for. These are the days that we have been waiting for. We've been talking about this, because we know it was going to happen. But guess what? Here it is. It's happening, right? Mass adoption is here, and I love it. So all of you guys are excited about it. I know I'm excited about it, and I know Mr. Wong is super excited about it, right, Mr. Wong?
Well, that's the reason why I sent you that news article at 7 a.m. in the morning. So, right, about the Australian
I was
government.
Wait a second. Why is he up already? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. I was up. I'm up early.
Yeah.
But what's actually also exciting is, I mean, we see all of these private sectors, right, start getting into Bitcoins. Where, last year we start seeing a lot of ATMs start popping up that allows people to buy Bitcoins, but the transaction fee is so high. Now we start seeing additional private sectors that are coming in, such as CVS, is going to, start selling it, right? 7-Elevens, on and all together, there's going to be more than 10,000 locations, actually 20,000 locations, I believe, in the US alone. That's going to start, offering Bitcoin for sale, right, to everyday consumer. But nothing compared to Australian postal offices to start, carrying it at their location, because their postal office is run by their government. So that tells me that their government at least don't hate it or don't believe that it is some form of a scam or, pyramid scheme or whatever that people calls it, right? The naysayer, but they actually embrace it. And that is a big news, guys, that, we are moving towards, one step closer towards these mass adoptions. So we're in a great place, and really the best way to, stay, in my opinion, is to mine and not buy it. So I'm very happy to see those positive development.
Yeah, and speaking of mining and not buying, right? Think about this. So there are only 21 million Bitcoins, period, over the end, right? And PayPal alone have over 300 million customers, right? But there's only 21 million Bitcoin. You do the math, right? So, mining is the best place to be when it comes to Bitcoin. Those who buy Bitcoin are those that don't know any better. Because there was a time when I was in that boat, right? Before, we started this company, I started slowly getting into cryptocurrency, like in late 2016, going into 2017, right? And I was buying. So, but once you understand the mining aspect of it, then you realize that that's the place you want to be. So for those who are still buying Bitcoin, it's because they just don't know any better. And also they don't know of a really reputable Bitcoin mining company that they can trust. You have all these, different mining companies. They're doing cloud mining. They are in some, faraway land that you don't know who they are. If they say you're mining, but you can't get your Bitcoin, all that stuff, right? So a lot of people have been bitten, by some kind of fraud or some kind of scam, if you will, with all the scrupulous mining that was taking place. So yes, you do have some people who are still buying Bitcoin because they don't understand the alternative. But as a Bitcoin miner, those of us who are involved in Bitcoin mining, we completely understand the benefit of it and why it's so much better. But it's still good to see that, the mass adoption is happening, right? So even if they're buying it, because them people buying Bitcoin still benefit us as miners because of the transaction fees. Remember,
of course,
miners, yeah, we get the transaction fee. So we're glad to see that. But eventually enough people will realize that if they want to really be involved in the Bitcoin game in a strong way, then they need to be in the mining side of it. What do you think, Mr. Wong?
Totally. you know, people might one of the hardest thing about just buying or holding is that spike up in price or the sudden drop in prices, right? And I know I'm not that type of person. If I can see that, if Bitcoin all of a sudden goes up to, let's say, $20, $9,000 or $90 like today, more likely than not, no, I'm gonna sell more than I can hold on to it. And just to know that next week ain't money, I'm missing out on those opportunities, right? And that's the reason why I like these dollar cost averaging over time, because I know if it goes down to let's say 7,000, right? I'm mining additional Bitcoins at $7,000, which is great.
Exactly.
If it goes up to 15, I'm also benefiting from the price increase. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I like about
it. For me, all these short-term price fluctuations really doesn't bother me at all. Sometimes days goes by, I don't even look at the Bitcoin price because I don't really think about it, right? Because I don't really Bitcoin and this price it's nothing. When it's 20, 25,000, approaching 50,000, then I'm super excited, right? So when people get bummed out because the price went from 9,500 to 9,300, I get texts all the time. Did you see the Bitcoin price drop? I'm like, come on, man. No, don't talk to me about that, because the short-term volatility is of no consequence to me. I'm looking long-term. I'm looking minimum 2, 3, 5 years from now, right? So
that's right.
These price fluctuations, I really don't care about it because I know it's going to happen. But you're right, though, Mr. Wong. Someone who goes out and purchases Bitcoin, they watch the price like a hawk because they're so fully invested in it because they bought it, right? And they buy it thinking that the price is going to go straight up, and then it doesn't because nothing goes up in a straight line, right? And so they get nervous and they get antsy when the price drops. But as a Bitcoin miner, you don't worry about it because when the price drops, the mining difficulty drop, you mine more Bitcoin. You're in a better place. But the point I was trying to bring across in terms of the amount of people that PayPal have as their customers, right now, if you are with this company, you're a Bitcoin miner, and you have anywhere from half a Bitcoin to 1 Bitcoin, I'm telling you, you are in very, very rare company, right? 300 plus million people and PayPal. There's only 21 million Bitcoin. So if you have a whole Bitcoin already, if you're ready to mine a whole Bitcoin, you are in phenomenal company. You should be very, very proud of yourself. Like Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong has at least 100 Bitcoin. I know that. But I know Mr. Wong has at least 100 Bitcoin that he's holding on.
I can't tell you how many because that's a top secret. I do not have 100, guys. I wish, but I do not. Over time, maybe I'll get there. But nowhere near.
Okay. All right, moving on, guys. Next article I want to talk to you guys about. So this article is talking about how people are having more trust in Bitcoin than they're having trust in the bank. And that's not a surprise to me. Now, to a lot of people who are still committed to the traditional system and the haters, so to speak, right? They may find this as a surprise. But when I saw this article, I already know that, right? If you're really paying attention to what's going on, if your eyes are open, you realize that it's very difficult right now to trust the traditional banking system. And don't talk about saving. You can't save your money in the banking system right now. They're paying you like 0.000 something percent. So right now, more and more people are having more trust in Bitcoin than they do in the traditional banking system. And a couple of years ago, if you told someone that, they would laugh in your face, right? But for people like us who are committed to this space and understand what's going on, it's kind of like validation, but we already know this, right? We know this is happening. It's the people out there who still, some way, somehow, are not figuring out what's going on. So when they see information like this, it shocks them. But when I first saw it, I just smiled because I noticed what's happening.
Yeah, trusting banks would be like trusting my 6-year-old with a gallon of ice cream and telling her you can only have one scoop. Okay, that's not going to happen. So, bank has the freedom, alongside with the central bank to basically print as much money as possible.
Yeah.
Why would you trust them?
Yeah.
Right. So, these are the first group of people that I don't trust.
No one should trust the bankers. I mean, if you're a banker and you're listening to this, my apologies, but no, I don't trust the banks. I know how the banks operate. I was thinking about something the other night, I wonder how many people understand what the term fractional reserve banking even means. And this is how the banking system creates money out of thin air and then charge you interest on it. And
Right.
it's a phenomenal thing. I think everyone should really research fractional banking, and then you really understand how the banking system is not to be trusted. Henry Ford, and I forgot the exact date when he said it, but Henry Ford back in the day said, if people really understand how the banking system works, there would be a revolution in the street the next day. Most people really don't understand how the banking system really works, right? And even back then, a guy like Henry Ford realized how corrupt and crooked the banks were, to the point where he said, if people understood how the banking system worked, there'd be a revolution in the street the next day. Because all the banking system is set up just to really, take your money from you. That's it, right? Even when they supposedly give you a loan, say, for example, you get a mortgage, by the time you end up paying your mortgage on your house, you're paying like 3 times what the house is worth, or 3
Absolutely.
times. Yeah, it's crazy. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that people are having more trust in Bitcoin than they are the banking system at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, people should look it up. It all derives from the 1863 the Banking Act, the National Banking Act.
Yeah.
Right. That's when the central bank was first created. Actually, there's a really awesome documentary on YouTube, which is free, and if you Google that, and it was almost like created in a secrecy. Actually, they gather a bunch of big, wealthy and national bankers together to create this thing. So without yours or my inputs or the citizens' inputs.
Yeah.
It is literally like the creation of monopoly money.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. I think more of us should really take the time to understand how our banking system really works and how money really works. And I think that's one of the benefits of being involved with Bitcoin, because once you start to get involved with this new technology and this new currency, and then you start figuring out why it was even created and why so many people have gravitated to it and why it's becoming so popular and why it's literally like taking over so many aspects of our lives, right? Because so many people understand that the banking system is broken. But the thing is, up until Bitcoin, we really didn't have anything else. We really didn't have an out. But Bitcoin gave us an out, right? But the more you study the banking system, the more you research it, the more you look at it, the more you understand fractional reserve banking, all of those things, it really leaves a bad taste in your mouth of how the banking system is set up. And so, Bitcoin is not something that someone just thought up in one day. It actually been thought about for many, many years. They were working on it. If you guys want to dig into that, you guys should Google cypherpunks, the cypherpunks. They actually were trying to come up with some kind of cryptography for a currency for a very long time, but they couldn't put it together until Satoshi Nakamoto really figured out and and published a white paper. But it's nothing like that happened overnight. But many people for a very long time realized that the banking system was corrupt, and we need to get away from it. But we didn't have anything else, and so we were stuck with it. But no, we're not stuck with the banking system any longer. Now we have a choice, and that choice is Bitcoin.
That's why it's people's money.
The people's money, absolutely, 100%, Mr. Wong, the people's money. All right, moving right along. So, go ahead, Mr. Wong.
Nothing, go ahead.
So this next topic we're going to talk about is not necessarily an article, but, many people always talk about the fact that Bitcoin doesn't have a use case, and that, you can't use Bitcoin anywhere. You can't spend Bitcoin. We all know that that's a lie, because I spend Bitcoin. I don't spend a lot of it, but I spend Bitcoin before buying stuff, right? But we want to bring it together, you got attention. So this precious metal dealer, I think it's called Providence. Also, another one that's called JM Bullion, they actually accept Bitcoin to buy gold. So you can actually buy gold with Bitcoin. And on top of that, not only can you buy gold with Bitcoin, but when you purchase gold with Bitcoin, they give you a discount, meaning that they value your Bitcoin. To me, that tells me that they value the Bitcoin more than they do gold. Because if you buy Bitcoin from them, right, if you use HCH, or if you use a credit card or a debit card or whatever, you pay the full price. But if you use Bitcoin, they give you a discount. So what does that tell you, right, Mr. Wong?
That's correct. Hey, James, can you pull up the link on the Telegram group? I want to show people actually.
Actually, I sent it to you, James. It's in it's in the stack of articles.
Oh, I just want to be able to,
One says you can buy gold with BTC.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So there obviously, it's a real life use case scenario, right? You can use it to transact, but more importantly, Providence Precious Metal actually sells gold bars and sells gold to people that want to, diversify their portfolio with some precious metals, such as gold or silver or other precious metals. But they're willing to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. That goes to tell you that it is legit. Big companies out there are willing to accept Bitcoins as a form of payment because there are values in there, right? So, when James bring up the screen or the website, I'll be able to show you actually there's also another benefit of using Bitcoins when you go transact at Providence Precious Metal. This is certainly not an endorsement or trying to encourage you to go out there and buy golds or whatnot, but this is just to go to show you that there are real life use case examples, and that big companies do trust Bitcoins as a form of payment. And because they trust it and the fees is significantly lower, they're also willing to offer a discount if you pay with Bitcoins. Let me know when you're ready, James. I'll walk you through it.
Okay, yeah, I'm here right now.
Can you bring it up on the screen?
Okay, yeah, it's up.
Okay, so
metals, right?
Yep. So can you, because I can't see, can you click on go at the top left?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, and then go to the first one. Let's say the second one, the gold bar.
Gold bars.
Yep, and then click on in stock gold bars. All right, and then you should see 1 ounce gold bar for $18 or so per ounce. You see that?
Yeah, I got it. Valcambi, 1 ounce
Okay.
gold bar.
Yep. So can you click on add to cart?
Got it in the cart.
Yep. Okay. Now, if you go to please select a payment method, it says none selected, but just click on the down arrow.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I had to shift it over so the audience can see.
Yeah,
I see this on the right. So now showing cash discount pricing. So you can go Bitcoin price 3% discount. Oh wow, that's neat.
that is correct. And if you use Bitcoin, you can transact maximum of up to $150,000. And if you use, any form of like checks or e-check, you can only do either 25,000 or 50,000. Credit card is only $5,000. PayPal is a little bit better; it's 10,000. So that goes to tell you, not only you have a much higher limit, right? You also get a discount on top of that. The only reason is because when you pay with Bitcoin, the merchant, doesn't have to pay the credit card company the 3 to 5% credit card fees. That's the only reason why they can do that for you, right?
It's
And
funny,
the reason
I
why
always thought Bitcoin
yeah,
and gold were kind of opposed to each other or something. Some of the communities behind them, but now you're on a gold site and you can actually use Bitcoin. It's funny.
that's right. So, that goes to show, that is my personal belief that people do look at Bitcoins as a store of value, as a digital gold. So here's a real life example for all of you members out there or listeners out there. If you have friends or family who are still have doubts about, Bitcoins, what can you do with it? Why would people want to own it? Go ahead and go show them these, real website, real life example of how you can use Bitcoins to buy things. Right? I think if they see it, they'll believe it.
And this shows a tremendous amount of trust in Bitcoin, because think about it. We all know how precious gold is, and they are willing to give you gold and accept your Bitcoin for purchase, right? So that means that company, understand the value of Bitcoin and also believe it and trust in it. Because if it was something that they didn't believe or trust, then why would they accept it for something as precious as gold? So that's a big endorsement in my eyes. The fact that you can actually pay with Bitcoin to purchase gold. That's a big deal.
Right.
It's kind of funny
That's
thinking
awesome,
that
man.
1 Bitcoin is worth, 4+ bricks of gold just sitting on the desk in front of you.
And it's so much easier to store and transport.
Yes. It's really it's a better form of money. It really is. And I said all the time, I like gold. I don't have any issues with gold. I'm not like, Bitcoin, this gold. I understand gold and I like it. But in terms of what Bitcoin brings to the table to perform as money, Bitcoin definitely, hands down, outperform gold. And one of the biggest things, like you just mentioned, Mr. Wong, it as far as transporting your money, whatever, right? Imagine you trying to travel and you have 10 or 15 gold bars in your travel case. As a matter of fact, there's some port of entry where if you're traveling with gold, is a very high chance that it will get confiscated, right? But when you travel and you have Bitcoin, everything is right here. Your username and password, that's it. You don't need to have these big chunks of gold bars. And let's say things, the economy really goes into a tailspin and we go back to a different form of money. Does anyone really think we're going to go back using gold coins to purchase stuff? Are we going to walk around with gold coins in our pockets like in the Western days? You ever see those guys in the Western movie walk up to us alone and, flick a gold coin or a silver dollar to buy, a drink? I mean, no, we're not going back to that, okay? So the same way that money has evolved over time, from I mean, I don't know how many people realize that at one time sheep shells were money. People use feathers for money. There's so many things that has been used for money,
Sure.
but it was always evolving. Absolutely. And then we get to coins and gold coins, and then from coins we got the paper. So Bitcoin is just the next step in the evolution process of money. And like I said before, they've been trying to figure this thing out for a very long time because a lot of people know that this current monetary system was on its last leg. And so what's going to be used to replace it, right? And, Bitcoin to me right now is the best replacement for this monetary system that we have, especially the fact that it's decentralized and take all the power away from a centralized government, right? So they cannot debase your money. They cannot confiscate it. I don't know how many people realize, and we talked about this before, back in the 1930s, I think it was like 1933, the U.S. government confiscated gold. They made gold illegal. It was illegal to own gold, right?
That's right. They have to turn it in.
Absolutely had to turn it in. And if you kept it, you were breaking the law. So, yeah, Bitcoin has a very bright future, and that's why so many people are starting to gravitate towards Bitcoin right now. And it is not just the average people like us. Now we're seeing wealthy billionaires are now realizing that they need to get involved with something like this to offset themselves from this current system that we have, at least to hedge themselves, if you will, right? So it's great to see that you can actually purchase gold and you can purchase it with Bitcoin, and on top of that, they will give you a discount if you do. That's awesome, man. That's a big deal to me. All right, moving right along. So you guys know that we're doing things a little bit. Go ahead, Mr. Wang.
They converge into the right.
Mr. Wang, I'm not sure if our audience is hearing it, but on my end, it's very you're breaking up. Is he breaking on your end too, James?
Yeah, just a little bit of chop. Maybe it'll resolve in a few seconds.
It's a little choppy.
Yeah, it's a little bit choppy. Yep.
Okay.
Is it better?
It's better now. Yeah.
Awesome.
So what were you saying now? Go ahead.
I was saying that I'm seeing a lot of these different private or public sectors start to converge into or gravitate towards the Bitcoin community. So that's only going to make the use case stronger and stronger over time. So, which is very, very positive for all of us as a Bitcoin miners.
Absolutely. Look, guys, we know this, right? And it's just a matter of now sharing the information with others. Bitcoin mining is absolutely the best way to collect Bitcoin. It absolutely is the best way to collect Bitcoin. Because when you think about just a simple fact that without Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin doesn't work. It's like the engine for the car, right? It doesn't matter how beautiful the car is. If that car doesn't have an engine, it doesn't move, right? So what's the most important part of the car? The engine. So it's the same way do I look at Bitcoin. Without Bitcoin, Bitcoin doesn't work. I mean, without Bitcoin mining, right? So as a Bitcoin miner, we are so important to the overall function of this new technology that we have to be involved. For this to work, they need us, right? For Bitcoin to work, it needs miners. So we will always be the most important part of this new technology in Bitcoin, the miners. Always remember that. We're the most important part of all that's going on. Us as miners, we are the most important part of this entire phenomenon, all right? Okay, so you guys know we're doing things a little bit different. Normally, we would play a video towards the end of our live stream. But what happened is when we did that, we didn't have much time to really discuss the content of the video. So what we're doing now, we're going to play the video like in the middle of the live stream. That way it gives us time to kind of discuss what they talked about in the video. So today we have another video for you guys. This one once again comes from the Kaiser report with Max Kaiser. If you guys are not listening to Max Kaiser, please listen to Max Kaiser. He was the first guy that I heard that was saying that I should buy Bitcoin. I would listen to him. And at the time when he was telling his audience to buy Bitcoin, it was $3, guys. $3. I remember sitting there listening to Max Kaiser saying buy Bitcoin was $3. But I was one of those naysayers at the time. I didn't believe in it. I didn't think, it was so new. But I regret it. That's one regret I have for sure. But anyway, back to this video. So Max Kaiser is interviewing a gentleman that actually wrote an article. And the main part of the article he's saying is that Bitcoin right now, in particular Bitcoin mining, is the new gold rush. And that's one of the things that our vice chairman, Mr. Jing Gao, he's always talking about that. From the beginning, from when we first started doing this, that when you look at Bitcoin, you can look at it as the new gold rush of our time. And so this conversation, it's around 10 or 12 minutes long. They were talking about the importance of how the gold rush played out. I think it was the 1840s or whatever that time was, how it played out and how important it was to the overall development of the U.S. economy, right? And so he was drawing some analogies, if you will, or some correlation between the gold rush and Bitcoin mining right now. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and then we can come back and discuss it further. Whenever you're ready, James.
Welcome back to the Kaiser Report. I'm Max Kaiser. Time now to go to Connor Brown. He's recently written a fantastic blog post at bitcoinreserve.com titled Bitcoin, a Bold American Future. We're going to get into it. But first, Connor, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Max. It's great to be here.
So you've written some interesting things here. So how is Bitcoin a matter of national security? Let's get into that a little bit, Connor, please.
Certainly. So national security can be broken down into a couple different elements, but the ones I focus on here is energy independence and the ability for a nation to have its, control over its own money supply. And I think that first, for energy independence, Bitcoin is very important because it can sort of reignite our energy sector. We're seeing a lot of issues in the energy sector. We've seen a bunch of malinvestment in, a bunch of energy companies that aren't necessarily as profitable as certain, prices of oil. And so Bitcoin, by mining Bitcoin instead with that natural gas and this sort of digital pipeline, you can actually get much more money out of your oil and natural gas. And you can also take things such as methane and these sorts of excess parts of the production process, and you can vent that off, and instead of using it and just throwing it into the atmosphere, you can actually take that, capture it, and mine Bitcoin with it. And so this is really important because you want to be a part of this sort of new monetary system, but at the same time you also want to give life to this energy sector, and therefore sort of create a whole new robust economy around stronger energy grids and more advanced energy production and more profitable energy production.
Right. This question of energy and Bitcoin is an interesting one. I think widely misunderstood. Last I saw the figures, something like 70% of energy going into Bitcoin mining is renewable. And you're bringing up some points there. So many times we see photos of gas wells being burned off, right? And that energy is just wasted energy that could be captured. Also, because Bitcoin mining is portable, you can go where the cheap energy is, whether it's, let's say, hydroelectric or solar. So it's a lot more mobile, a lot more agile. So you end up with, true energy independence at a much more efficient cost. And that's a huge get for Bitcoin. You also write about the dangerous game of debt. A company called Wirecard has collapsed into a whole heap of nothing. $2 billion went missing, or was never there to begin with. Could something like this happen to our entire fiat system? Because it seems like Wirecard is just symptomatic of a much bigger problem, Connor.
Yeah, I think this is something we need to really have an honest conversation about. The United States has been increasing its debt burden for a very long time, and debt is growing much faster than the GDP. And the amount of additional productivity we get from each dollar of debt is decreasing. It has diminishing returns. And so we're kind of seeing this end game begin to play out, where the more debt you pile on, the less you get out of it. And eventually, we all know that that's an unsustainable model. You can't have a level of debt rising beyond the economic growth for any sustained period of time. We've seen it happen now for about 50 years, which, coincidentally happens to be about the length of time that a fiat currency lasts. So I think that we're seeing sort of the end stages here, and the coronavirus just happened to be an incredible catastrophe, economically speaking, right when we didn't need it. And so I think this has really accelerated this end game and pushed it forward a few years. But ultimately, it is going to be completely unsustainable.
Right. So the problem, one of the big problems with fiat money and having a central bank that prints trillions and trillions of fiat money is that you take away all the incentives in an economy. In a capitalist economy, you would hope that the incentives or the competition breeds excellence. But here it seems to be the opposite now in the US, because the things that are, let's say, zombie companies where the interest cost on their debt exceeds the profit of the company, we now have 20% of the S&P 500 classify as zombie companies, and that number is growing a lot. And so is that, quite simply, isn't that part of the problem? You've removed the incentive to be profitable with a central bank that will write trillion-dollar checks at the drop of a hat, right?
Yeah, and think it's not just removing the incentives, but it's completely reversing the incentives. When you have money printing and you have this fresh money hitting the economy, there's going to be the most profit to be gained right there where it hits the economy. That's the Cantillon effect. We all know that. But think about the second order effects of that. That means that the best profits are going to be right there at the beginning of the money spigot. So people that in a capitalist economy or in a sound money economy, which would be taking, and going to school, going to, a good school, getting a good education, and then saying, the best way I could profit off of these skills I produced is to go and build a profitable business and create a product that consumers like at a good cost. And with that, sort of new insight and new market action, I can really make some money for myself. But the Cantillon effect, by pouring money into a very specific point in the finance sector, means all those great minds, those talented people that would have went to make great companies, they're deciding actually the best way I can profit is going into finance. And so we're seeing this financial industry that is outstripping the growth in any other sector of the economy just because it's most profitable there. And, it's not to hate on the people in the finance industry. They're simply acting based on the set of incentives they've been given, which is you can make the most profit if you go into the money printing business.
The Cantillon effect, or the Cantillon effect, as I call it here on the show, it is the result of the money not being distributed evenly when it rolls off the printing presses. It tends to go to the people who are closest to the Fed, and those tend to be bankers who buy back their own stock and watch their executive stock options go higher. Wow, that's a surprise. But up until the last 5 years or so, this whole money printing, and it really goes back to Alan Greenspan and the bailout of the stock market of 1987, it hasn't caused really social unrest, but it has. If you look at these Black Lives Matter protests or Occupy Wall Street or the Arab Spring over there in the Middle East, all around the world, wherever there's money printing, there's now social unrest. But Jay Powell says emphatically, no, there's no connection. Do you agree?
No, of course, we're seeing these flashpoints, and each one are going to have a specific social cause and a specific social location. But the fact of the matter is that these tensions have been building for years and years for a certain reason. And that's because people know there's something wrong. To them, it feels like they're being ripped off. It feels like something's not unfair. They're feeling like they can't get ahead in life. And, it's easy to blame it on a specific corporation or a specific, social problem in a specific location. But the reality is these are happening worldwide because money printing is happening worldwide. And because that dislocation of capital is happening and because those incentives are being torn around, it means that, what would normally happen in a productive economy where people gradually over time, as humans become more productive and we save and we invest and we make better products, we'd feel our lives improving over time. But the reality is because money printing has sort of taken these gains and pointed them all to a very specific class of people, it's made so people feel like they're actually going backwards in life, that they're not living the same quality of life that their ancestors did. And that's deeply troubling, and that causes a bunch of unrest that then, pours over in a specific flashpoint.
It's happening certainly generationally. The millennials and the Gen Z have way less wealth at this point of their lives than the boomers did, that's for sure. And those in society that have been marginalized for 100 years or 200 years or longer have been increasingly even more marginalized. And so those trends are increasing. You know, you've written something recently which is fascinating, and you talk about the gold rush. Now, what I know about the gold rush, I believe, is 1849. You had the 49ers, and they went out to the West Coast, and we had the gold rush. Now, you put this into context of how this impacted the economy as a whole, how this relates to Bitcoin. Can you speak on this, Connor?
Yeah, certainly. So the gold rush happened in the late 1840s and was a very important point for the American economy because right before that, we had really the first Great Depression. And because we had just been piling more and more debt into more state investment projects, many states went bankrupt in the late 1830s, and it caused this really serious malaise. Gold then came in, and people were like, oh my gosh, there's this thing that's separate from just going deeper into debt. We can actually make something productive, something external to ourselves, and we can become rich off of this. And that was a really great thing for the economy, and it created about 15 years of just really unprecedented economic growth. And I think that we're looking at an extremely similar situation today. Bitcoin represents this sort of external way that we can profit. We can revamp our energy sector like I was talking about before. And this, we can, sort of get ourselves out of this debt trap that we've been forcing ourselves into. And with this sort of external stimulus, we can have an actual, great economic moderation where we can have sustained growth, we can have true rise of living standards, and we have an actual true incentive to revamp our energy production. And energy production is really the life force to the rest of a productive economy. So there's really all these great benefits we could have, this sort of second gold rush, if we really recognize Bitcoin for the amazing technology it is and go full force into it.
Right. Let me expand on that a little bit and kind of get back to your original point you were making about national security and energy independence. And let me posit a theory here and get your reaction to it. This is a bit of out-of-the-box thinking. But in my view, it seems to me that similar to what happened in the 1960s and the Sputnik moment, when suddenly Russia had put a satellite up into space and America said, oh my God, we're losing the space race, or we got to enter the space race. And, this launched, of course, a decade of technological innovation and ended with Americans landing on the moon. And we all know the story. But is it possible that instead of this fear that governments are going to outlaw Bitcoin, isn't it the path of least resistance where actually we could get into a global, what I call the hash war, where countries are racing to get as much mining as possible and get as much of this Bitcoin on their national reserves as possible? What do you think of this?
I've thought about this a lot, and it's really the ultimate prisoner's dilemma. In the Cold War, we had mutually assured destruction, or MAD, where, if anyone moves, then everyone's annihilated. But in Bitcoin, it's the complete opposite. It's singularly assured destruction. If you don't print money to buy Bitcoin, then you are assuring that you yourself are destroyed. And I call that the SAD theory. And I think this is really important because it completely changes the way we think about monetary warfare. The first country that realizes there is a huge asymmetric advantage to adopting the Bitcoin standard, they win. And simultaneously, they defeat all other fiat currencies. So it's the ultimate offensive and defensive move. So really the only logical outcome is the first one that adopts Bitcoin is going to be the winner.
I noticed, that Iran, I believe, has something like 3% of the hash rate, and because they've been victimized by all of the censoring of fiat money, and the dollar and the SWIFT system was censored because the dollar's been politicized. So they said, wait a minute, how about a non-censorable money like Bitcoin? Maybe we should get into that. And of course, they have a lot of cheap energy. Shouldn't that be alarm bells be ringing in the State Department?
Yes, I think the U.S. should see the opportunity for what it is. This is a chance to get back and change our finances for the better and really reignite the American economy.
All right, Connor Brown, thanks for being on the Kaiser Report.
All right. So I hope you guys had, got a lot from that interview. I always like to bring these interviews to you guys just in case you haven't seen them. Just kind of, let you know the conversations that's going on out there in Ether surrounding Bitcoin and the role that Bitcoin is going to play in a new economy that's coming online. And a few things that I talk about is the fact that, eventually we may see where countries are competing to see who can garner the most hash rate. Like right now, a lot of the hashing happens in China. But like we
Mhm.
talked about a couple weeks ago, a lot of the hash rate is now transferring from China and is coming to America, because I think as things develop and as Bitcoin becomes more popularized, as far as more people get involved, then maybe we're going to see where countries may see the importance of having most of the mining happening in their backyard as opposed to their adversaries. So I thought it was an interesting point that they were talking about. I'm interested to know what you guys think. Do you guys really see Bitcoin mining as a new gold rush? We certainly think so, and but I would like to know what you guys are thinking about that. Hey, Mr. Wong, are you back on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the idea that Bitcoin is a new gold rush? Bitcoin mining is a new gold rush.
Well, I mean, I totally agree with the authors or the interviews that you just play. It is. If you actually look at, the history of the gold rush, it really not only attracted a lot of people moving into California and Seattle areas, but also it created a decade long, right, of the economic booms when they were just coming out of all these, depressions or these economic downturns. So it is very, very similar to the time that we are having right now in America and around the globe. And Bitcoin and the idea of Bitcoin, and it was born out of, the blockchain, is and are creating a lot of different industries and jobs. And so it's going to be a new Gold Rush 2.0. It's a digital Gold Rush 2.0. And the effect of this is going to be so much bigger than the first gold rush back in the 1940s.
100%, I agree with that. That's an excellent point. I think the effect that Bitcoin is going to have on the overall economy is going to dwarf the original gold rush. That's a very good point, Mr. Wong, and I truly believe that. So yeah, you guys should be very, very proud of yourselves and feel very fortunate to be involved with Bitcoin mining. And it's a great place to be, and it's a great endeavor to you guys are involved in. And so I hope you guys really understand it. Not only should you feel proud of the fact that you are a Bitcoin miner, but the fact that we play an intricate role in this entire industry as a Bitcoin miner, right? It's a very good thing. And so, we're glad that you guys are a part of what we're doing. And, we're all in this together as one big family. But always understand that being a Bitcoin miner is super important to Bitcoin working. If without us, then Bitcoin won't work. And we need Bitcoin to work. One of the points that the gentleman brought up in the interview is that, when it comes to money printing, when the Federal Reserve is printing all this money, it gets to the banking system first. Right, they get their hands on it first, and then eventually it trickles down to the everyday people like you and I, right? But by the time it gets to us, the cost of it increases, right? So when it gets to the banking system first, because the Federal Reserve, issue it, the banking system, they're getting the money at like 0% interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by the time it gets down to us, where you need the money to buy a home or buy an automobile or whatever, then they're charging you a lot more from what they're getting it for, right? So they almost get it for free in the beginning. So the first people to get it, they're the ones that get the true advantage of that money printing before it gets to you. So that's one of the things that I thought was quite interesting. And I think Bitcoin is something that is going to play a big role in resetting this economy. Because it's important for us to understand what's going on right now. The market, the Dow was down like over 700 points today. It doesn't matter. At some point, it's not going to matter how much money the Federal Reserve print. At some point, the market will overwhelm the Federal Reserve. And so this system has to get reset. we cannot keep going like this, where every couple of months the Federal Reserve print up trillions and trillions of dollars. That cannot last very long. So at some point, this economy is going to have to get reset, and I think Bitcoin is going to play a huge role in the reset of this economy. So we'll see how things play out in that sense.
For sure.
Yeah. So look, we're going to wrap things up. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about, and we know that there's a lot of scams out there. And so I saw an article the other day that were talking about this particular scam that happened. And I saw it when it was happening. And I looked and I said, wait a minute, this is a scam. Who would fall for this? So here's what happened. These guys, they were running like some kind of webinar. And they had Elon Musk picture and his name up there and saying that Elon Musk is giving away Bitcoin, right? But the thing is, you would need to send them Bitcoin. So for example, they say this: if you send us 1 Bitcoin, we'll send you 2 Bitcoins back. Or if you send us a half a Bitcoin, we'll send you 1 Bitcoin back. And I'm saying, wait a second, who would fall for this? But guess what? Many people fell for it, right? Because that particular scam that I saw when it was on YouTube, they actually got over $2 million in Bitcoin sent to them, right? And I'm I see Mr. Wong shaking his so I'm saying to our members, please, you guys, the Bitcoin that you have mined is precious. Hold on to it. Do not let someone scam you out of your Bitcoin with a scam like that. Don't believe that if someone say, you send us 1 Bitcoin, we send you 2 Bitcoin. Right then and there, you should know that's a scam. So the fact that anyone fell for that, I'm beside myself. What do you think? I know, Mr. Wong, you're speechless, right? And someone actually fought for that.
Well, it's always greed that drives this type of behavior. So, just stick with mining. That's all. Just keep it simple. There's no one out there that's because you send them 1 Bitcoin, they're going to send you 2 back. None of us are that special, including you, Gershom, and I. So it's very unfortunate that people fell for that.
When I saw that, I was like, people really do this? And come to find out, yes. They actually got over $2 million in Bitcoin from people that said, you send us 1, we send you 2. Who would believe that? Right. But people do. So, our members, guys, please do not fall for those scams. Now, if someone hack your account and I get that, right? And we can do everything possible to make sure we prevent that. Guard our information, like our password or using. Make sure you guard that stuff. But yes, we can get hacked. One of our members got hacked a couple weeks ago, right? That can happen. But you should never fall for a scam like this, okay? I don't ever want to hear any of our members falling for a scam like that, because the only reason why you would fall for a scam like that is greed, right? You have 1 Bitcoin and someone say, hey, you send us 1, we're going to send you 2. No, don't do that, okay? So I wanted to bring this article up to you guys' attention that these scams are out there. I've seen them. I've seen that exact scam when they were running it on YouTube. I came across it and I said, wait a second, this is a scam. Who's going to fall for that? People do. So make sure you guys don't fall for anything like that, okay? Please, please do not fall for any scam like that, all right? All right, Mr. Wong. This brings us to the end of today's live stream, my friend. It's been a wonderful, wonderful live stream today. I really appreciate it. Always good hanging out with you and, getting your input and your insights and, some of the things that we talk about. I hope that our audience and our members really appreciate this, to having access to someone like you, with your brilliant point of view and some of these topics we talk about. You always have a very unique spin on these topics. And you always have a way to explain certain things to make it very simple so everyone can understand, and I appreciate that. So having said that, any last words for the people out there today?
Hey, I just want to make a quick remark about this particular member that got hacked into. His Kabul account didn't get hacked, which is perfectly safe. The reason why he got hacked was because his phone got hacked, got SIM swapped. So if you don't know what a SIM swap is, go Google it or go to YouTube. You'll find many videos or articles on Google that talks about that, and also it gives you steps on how to prevent that from happening. So other than that, everybody have a great weekend, and please don't let your guards down just because some of the states or some of the cities are start moving out into like the green phase. We still have to be conscientious about, keeping the social distance, wearing our masks, and keeping the personal hygiene at tip-top shape. All right?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wong. And yes, I want to second that. Make sure you guys have yourself a great weekend, but, make sure that you're safe and practice social distancing. So I would hate for any one of you guys to come down with this COVID-19. I hear how devastating that can be. So yes, you want to have some fun. Things are opening back up. It's summer. So we all know someone want to get out and have fun, go to the beach, go to the parks, go out and just enjoy the beautiful weather, but do it in a safe way. All right. Make sure you take care of yourselves and your family. With that being said, James, always good to have you in the background making things happen. We really appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much, buddy. And for the rest of you guys, have a great weekend. We thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Also, so don't forget, guys, Monday, our next live stream is Monday, 5:30. Make sure you guys are here for that. And then Monday night at 9 p.m., that we do our compensation webinars. So for those of you who are members, make sure that you're on for that as well. All right. That being said, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on Monday. You guys take care.